Hi everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 5 video, so here we go. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the Game of Thrones videos. We have a whole bunch of stuff coming up with the finale and then all the spin-off and Game of Thrones prequel stuff that's going to be coming this summer. There's a new round of the HBO Now giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. So smoke if you got 'em, and obviously careful for spoilers from Episode 5. But let's burn them all. Top 15 WTF and Easter eggs. So many callbacks to previous seasons, particularly season 1, and then obviously during Robert's Rebellion. There are a bunch of Easter eggs for Jaime Lannister, Kingslayer, Mad King, Wildfire, everything going back to the beginning, as you would expect. Starting with number 15, the new intro. If you notice, they did something different with the recap. They transposed a whole bunch of different voiceover dialogue scenes of people talking to Daenerys throughout each of the seasons. The Queen of Thorns telling her to be a dragon. They ended on a very particular one too, where it was Viserys from back in season 1 when he said, "You don't want to wake the dragon, do you?" So you can kind of see where they're trying to say Daenerys' mind state is at the beginning of the episode. The dragon has been woken, and she's on the precipice of going crazy on everyone. Obviously that did then play out through the episode, but there's still a couple moments early in the episode when you're wondering whether or not she's going to go one way or the other. Like Varys is saying about people flipping coins when Targaryens are born, and the realm holds its breath to see which side lands up, and he knows who Jon Snow is. I know you're going to be a good leader, but is clearly convinced that Daenerys is going to be just as bad as the Mad King was. So I think a lot of the people talking about the episode tonight will be focusing on what Daenerys was doing during the episode, why she reacted certain ways, and how quickly it seems like the episodes took her in that direction, whereas normally you'd feel like it would take her a couple seasons to descend to this point, whereas we've really just taken everything away from her the last couple of episodes. But Jon Snow shows up even though it doesn't do any good. And number 14, Daenerys executes Varys. I did love the moment that he had with Tyrion, the moment he had with his little bird too. Apparently he still has little birds, even though technically he doesn't have the little birds anymore. The little birds that he used to use in King's Landing now serve Qyburn, although not anymore as of the end of the episode. May he rest in peace. Qyburn was a great hand of the queen while he lasted. I think when you're hearing Daenerys give Varys his death sentence, and she's so calm, she gives the calmest Dracarys that I've ever heard come out of her mouth, you know exactly where she is. Basically in the mindset of Cersei when she said, "I choose violence," way back, I think it was during season 5 when the faith came for her. Normally you would expect them to mirror Daenerys' story with Cersei, like they would be doing similar things and their characters would be coming from similar places and similar mindsets, but really it was a very one-sided episode. It was more like a slaughter of King's Landing. The thing about Jon Snow when he was talking to Varys that you should remember too is that he makes a very critical Ned Stark level mistake by being so strict about his honor. I serve my queen. Daenerys is my queen, even though he can't bring himself to love her physically the way that Daenerys wants. So number 13, Jon Snow rejects a relationship with Daenerys. This seems like it's pretty final. Like, I will always serve you, but I won't be with you the way that you want. So the way the producers talked about this in the notes after the episode is that in this moment here, Daenerys feels like she's lost all the people closest to her, so she doesn't have that level of trust, and all the other people around her, primarily Jon Snow, Tyrion, and Varys, have all betrayed her. So she's as isolated as you could possibly be, which is starting to make her more and more dangerous, because obviously at this point she's not going to listen to anything that anyone else tells her. So it's almost futile for Tyrion to try and talk some sense into her. Like, he tries to get her to agree to call off the attack. When you hear the bells, that'll be the key that they're going to surrender, and we call off the attack. And even though it seems like she heard him and she kind of nods her head a little bit, I don't think that she's really listening to him too much. She's just kind of waiting for him to leave the room. But on his way out of the throne room, number 12, Daenerys says that they captured Jaime, and his look of fright, like he's clearly scared of Daenerys, he's scared of her through the entire first part of the episode, that look of terror on his face shifts to one of horror. Oh my god, what are they going to do to Jaime? I have to go save him now. I think they were pretty clear with a lot of the characters' final moments together that they would be final moments. So of course 11, Tyrion helps Jaime escape, and is a very cool twist on earlier scenes from the show. So you go all the way back to season 2 when Jaime had been captured by the Starks. Catelyn Stark, by the grace of her heart, let him out so that he could go do something good. It also reminds you of season 4 when Tyrion was on trial and stuck in prison all season long, and Jaime would come sit with him in his prison cell and they would talk to each other about their childhood. But probably one of the best things that they talked about is when they talked about their childhood in this moment here. And Tyrion thanks him for being there when they were growing up. "You're the only reason I survived. Everyone hated me and wanted me dead. I would not have lived to adulthood if not for you." For all the faults the show has, I feel like anytime they have Tyrion and Jaime together in a scene, it always winds up being a really good scene. They just have really great chemistry together as actors. Plus, even though the writing might not be quite as good as it was in earlier seasons, the actors have been with each other in these scenes for so long that they've become like brothers too. So you have both Nikolai Coster-Waldau and Peter Dinklage that are fantastic actors that can just work magic with the scripts, with whatever they're given. Remember what Daenerys told Tyrion, though, "You fail me again, and that's it for you," basically telling him that she would execute him. So I think he signed his death warrant the minute that he helped Jaime escape. But he was so horrified by what Daenerys was doing during the episode that it's possible that he also does something at the beginning of the finale that will cause her to want to execute him. 10 was Daenerys destroying the Iron Fleet. She just cuts through all their forces like butter. So the weird thing about this, I know a lot of people are like, wait a minute, how come they were so accurate when they killed Rhaegal, and now that Daenerys is coming at them, they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat, which a lot of them wind up doing. Even though on a logic level it totally doesn't make sense, from a narrative perspective, what they're trying to show you is that it's basically a bloodbath. Daenerys is just massacring everyone in King's Landing. That's why there were so many scenes on the streets of King's Landing with the peasants just running around being terrified. They just wanted to show you how crazy it was. People screaming for mercy and Daenerys not giving any of it. And even earlier in the episode, when she was talking to Tyrion, she started talking about how her mercy would be the future generations benefiting from not being under the rule of a tyrant, basically telling Tyrion that she had no problem with collateral damage. She had no problem cutting through Cersei's meat shield of citizens that she was letting into the Red Keep. 9, Daenerys destroys the Golden Company easily. It's almost like they never mattered. This is kind of funny in a bad way, like, wait a minute, what's going on here? The Golden Company, they're so cool. Nope. Boom! She just blows out the gates of King's Landing from the rear, and even though it's a really cool effect, it's kind of disappointing that we didn't get to see them actually fight in battle, because they really are legit badasses when you actually do get to see them fight. But now it makes sense why they didn't spend the extra money to make those CG elephants, or to get real elephants too. Like, oh, we're just gonna blow them up in 5 seconds. What's the point of spending an extra $500,000 just to get a couple elephants in the scene? So I will understand if you're very, very upset about how quickly that part of the battle was over. But like I said, I think it's all in service of making Daenerys seem like this all-terrible, powerful force that nobody's going to be able to stop. Even Jon Snow has trouble stopping his own troops in the streets later. She also cut right through all those scorpions along the wall. It's almost like they didn't even matter either. Like the way she cuts them down, it's just hilarious how quickly she gets through all of them. 8 was Daenerys going rogue after Tyrion's plan had worked to get the Lannisters to surrender. So it gets really quiet for a sudden, and Jon Snow breathes a sigh of relief. Even Tyrion seems like he's getting ready to breathe a sigh of relief. But they do this weird 360 shot where they go to Daenerys' perspective, and she hears all the bells all over the city ringing in discord. And even though it seems like she's going full Mad Queen slowly, what the producers said about this scene is that it's the moment that Daenerys decides to make the fight personal, and she's not thinking about the battle, she's just thinking about living in exile her whole life, all the things that drove her away from her family's home that they built 300 years ago, and because it's within her sight, she doesn't want to wait anymore. She's like, that's it, it's personal, I'm coming for Cersei. So the thing about that, though, is that she just starts strafing all up and down the city. She doesn't fly in a straight line to the Red Keep. She's actually lighting up streets, going across King's Landing, winding her way to the Red Keep, which seemed kind of weird to me. She was really going for those extra points on environmental damage, just trying to blow everything she possibly could up. Things get even worse though. Number 7, even the northern soldiers go completely vicious, and it reminds you of the riots during season 2 when the mob came for Joffrey and the Hound had to save Sansa from those men that were trying to take her. So Jon does the same thing, but it's one of the northern soldiers, one of his own soldiers that's trying to take one of the women of King's Landing, who he then saves. The northern soldier tries to kill Jon Snow, his own commander, the most special boy next to Ghost, and he tries to take him out. Like, what is going on in the minds of this soldier here? Everything goes into this complete frenzy, but you finally get number 6, Jaime versus Euron. So this actually felt kind of weird too. Like, where did Euron come from? Was he just waiting here this whole time for Jaime to walk by? This is one of the rear escape routes that Tyrion was talking about. It's not the one that he told Jaime to take, but it's another one. There are many paths in and out of the Red Keep. When King Maegor was having the Red Keep built, he actually had a bunch of secret passages built in and out, and then when the workers were done, he held a feast and gave them a version of a Red Wedding so that none of them could live to tell anyone the secrets of the Red Keep. So there are a lot of ways that you can sneak in and out. I was actually surprised about how much they did not do during this Jaime Euron fight. They really wanted it to be over quickly. I felt like they were going to reference the baby, like I put a baby in your sister, and I felt like Jaime was going to tell him, no, it's my baby, and that would make Euron even madder. But it sounds like Euron just wanted to kill him just because, for the pleasure. I can't believe that I'm the one that got to kill Jaime Lannister. He dies a happy man knowing that he would have killed Jaime Lannister. But haha, surprise, joke's on him, Jaime got killed by the roof collapsing. Number 5, wildfire starts erupting all over the city. That wildfire is probably left over from the Mad King's days. Remember, when Jaime Lannister was telling the story to Brienne about why he became the Kingslayer, he said that the Mad King, who had become paranoid slowly over many years, had been using the pyromancers to lay traps of wildfire all over King's Landing. During the Siege of King's Landing, the very end of Robert's rebellion, the Mad King finally said, okay, we're gonna burn them all. You have that scene that Bran flashed back to that we all reference, burn them all, which was supposed to be the signal to the pyromancers to enact his plan and blow everything up. But obviously Jaime decided that that was completely bonkers, so he killed the Mad King, thus becoming the Kingslayer, saving all of King's Landing. Tyrion referenced that a little bit when he was talking to Jaime about escaping. Think of the million people in King's Landing about saving them. Jaime claims that he doesn't care about them in that moment, but I think that that's not true. But boy, Tyrion does try to sell him on that life on the run. Just go to Pentos, sail away, start a new life with that new baby of yours. Sure, I'm sure it'll happen. I'm sure you totally won't get blown up in this Daenerys fire. Speaking of goodbyes, number 4, Arya says her final goodbye to the Hound. You could kind of tell that it was their last goodbye, just because of the way things were headed in the episode. You come with me, you die. Look at me, my life has been all about revenge. He doesn't mention his brother, but obviously that's what he's been thinking about his whole life. Do you want to wind up like me? So she sort of comes to her senses and realizes that maybe that's not the end of it, and then takes off. Obviously, this is not the end of it though, because you just see Arya at the end of the episode. You just see her riding towards the gates of King's Landing, so I do think that she's going to be a big part of the finale. So it's not like she's completely left the story at this point. I'll talk about it a little more when I post my finale trailer video, but remember how Arya showed up to King's Landing to kill the Queen. I think that she still wants to kill the Queen at this point, just not the Queen that she's wanted to this entire time. I think she's going to set her sights on Daenerys, but I don't think if Daenerys does wind up being killed in the finale, I don't think that Arya would be the one to do it. Remember how Melisandre talked about Arya closing green eyes? Well, Emilia Clarke also has green eyes in real life, so you can take that any way you want. But like I said, if Daenerys winds up dying in the finale, I don't think that Arya is going to be the person to do it, even if she is involved with it somehow. Number 3 though, Clegane Bowl, get hype. The thing that we've asked for this whole time, they finally deliver on, is probably one of the biggest payoffs of the episode. I think, of all the things that people complain about, I feel like across the board, Clegane Bowl will be one of the few things that people like in this episode. It was both hilarious and WTF throughout the entire fight. The Hound laughing as he landed blow after blow on the mountain, not phasing him. He even gets him through the face and it still doesn't phase him. But we finally get to see the mountain without his helmet on and then without his armor on for the first time since Qyburn brought him back. He looked about the way I expected him to look, and it was kind of hilarious the way he dashed Qyburn against the wall nearby when he commanded him to stop. Stay by your queen. Boop, nope, you're gone. R.I.P. Qyburn. There are a couple Easter eggs during the fight itself too. He dashed Qyburn against the wall the way he dashed baby Aegon, Rhaegar's son, with Elia Martell against the wall, and he tried to take out the mountain's eyes the same way he did to Oberyn Martell during season 4. I'm not expecting them to show up during the finale. I think that they either died on impact or later in the fire. I think that's the whole idea. And it was a fairly satisfying poetic end for them. Like their beginning was that fire when the mountain held his face into it for taking his toy, so they die in fire at the end together. Number 2 was Jaime and Cersei's death in the collapse underneath the Red Keep. This is actually right underneath the throne room too, where Robert used to keep all those skulls. It's where the skull of Balerion the Black Dread was, where the prototype for the scorpion that Qyburn then built into the bigger ones on the walls. The whole idea with Cersei in this is I think she sort of backed herself into a corner, and even though she seems very sure of herself at the beginning of the episode, you can kind of see the turn when Qyburn comes to bring her to Maegor's Holdfast, which actually also reminds you of the Blackwater episode. That was where they were when the battle was happening, when she was drinking all that wine, giving Sansa all those speeches, just being probably the worst queen ever, telling everyone that they were going to die or be taken by soldiers. You also remember at the end of that episode that she almost thought that she was going to die. She was ready to take that poison with her and Tommen in her lap. The line that Jaime goes out on, "Nothing else matters, only us," I think is either from season 4 after they lost Joffrey after the Purple Wedding, or it was after they lost Myrcella. It was from actually one of the middle seasons. I don't think it's actually a line from season 1. There was a lot of season 1 dialogue during the episode. There was the line from Varys when he was talking to Jon Snow, "Power resides where men believe it resides." When it's all said and done, yes, I do think that Cersei and Jaime were going to die, but I did want to see them get a more epic death. So I was a little disappointed with the way they went out. I was hoping for something a little more spectacular for Cersei, just because her story has been so crazy up to this point. I thought it was weird the way that they tried to humanize her so much, and they really did want you to sympathize with her. So we'll have a lot of conversations next week after the finale, talking about who the real villain of Game of Thrones winds up being. But number 1, Daenerys pretty much destroys all of King's Landing. There's wildfire erupting everywhere and big torrents of green flame in most of the Red Keep, but not the throne room or the Iron Throne itself. We'll have to wait for that till next week sometime. But it really does look like Daenerys' vision in the House of the Undying. But now we know, because of that Arya scene at the end of the episode, it's not snow on King's Landing, it's actually all the ashes from the people. You also probably noticed they paid off a big Easter egg from one of Bran's visions a long time ago. During season 6, when he was having all those flashbacks to the Mad King burn them all, he also had a vision of a dragon shadow flying over King's Landing. Obviously, now we know that that is Drogon, because they had the very same type of shot with Drogon's shadow casting over all the buildings while Daenerys was busy strafing, lighting up all that wildfire. So the real question of the day now is whether or not you think that Daenerys has gone full Mad Queen, and whether or not you think she's at the point of no return. Will Jon Snow or any of the others be able to talk her back from the precipice, or is it at the point now where the citizens will never love her? Like at the beginning of the episode, she kept talking to Jon Snow, "Everyone loves you. I don't have love in Westeros." So let it be fear then. So it's almost like everyone's worst fears have been realized. So we'll talk about it during my finale trailer video that'll post tomorrow. So leave all your questions in the comments below and your reactions to the episode. I'll name a giveaway winner when I post that trailer video too. So click here for my Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 4 video, and click here for my Episode 3 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. Burn them all.